They spent the whole dinner insulting me, my clothes, my job, my background. Nobody stopped them, not even him. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called them out in front of everyone. And what happened next shocked us all. But before I tell you what happened that night, I need you to understand something. This story isn't just about me. It's about every woman who's ever felt invisible in a room full of people. Every woman who's been judged for loving someone from a different world. Every woman who finally decided that her voice matters more than keeping the peace. So stick with me, because this is a moment that changed everything. I met my husband 5 years ago at a coffee shop. I know. It sounds like the beginning of a romance novel, but it's true. He ordered the same thing I did, smiled at me, and the rest is history. For 5 years, we built something real, something honest, something beautiful. He was my best friend, my partner, my person. And I thought I was his. What he didn't tell me right away was that his family was different, really different. His father built an empire in finance. His mother came from old money. His siblings went to Ivy League schools and married people from similar backgrounds. They lived in a world where everything had a price tag and everything was about status. I didn't know this world existed the way it actually existed until I started dating him. The first time I met his family, I was nervous. I wore my nicest dress. I did my hair. I practiced what I would say. But nothing prepared me for the feeling of walking into their world and realizing I didn't fit the picture they had in their heads. I remember his mother looking me up and down, and I could literally see the moment she decided I wasn't what she expected. But I told myself it was fine. People are always surprised. People always warm up. I was optimistic. I was hopeful. But 5 years later, here we are at their anniversary dinner for us. Their 5th wedding anniversary celebration. I should have been excited. I should have been happy. This was supposed to be about celebrating our love, our commitment, our journey together. Instead, I felt sick to my stomach the entire day leading up to it. I remember that morning, standing in front of my closet for almost an hour. I had this black dress, elegant, simple, sophisticated. It was expensive, but I had saved for it. I wanted to look good. I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to walk into that restaurant and feel like I belonged. I put on my jewelry, did my makeup carefully, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked beautiful. I felt beautiful. And then my stomach dropped because I realized that no matter what I wore, it might not matter. We drove to the restaurant in his car. He was quiet the whole way there. I tried to start conversations, but he kept his eyes on the road. When I asked him if everything was okay, he just said, "Yeah, everything's fine." But it wasn't fine. I could feel it in the air between us. Something was off. Something was wrong. And deep down, I think I already knew what was coming. The restaurant was the kind of place where the tablecloths cost more than my monthly rent. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The waiters moved silently across the marble floors. Everything was cold. Everything was perfect. And everything made me feel like I was an outsider looking in. His family was already seated when we arrived. I could see them before they saw us. His mother, perfectly put together as always, in a designer dress that probably cost more than my car. His father, looking important and stern, reviewing the wine list like it was a business contract. His sister, scrolling through her phone, with that expression on her face that always made me feel judged. His brother-in-law, looking uncomfortable but polite. And his younger brother, who had always been the nicest one to me, checking his watch. We walked over to the table, and the greetings started. His mother air-kissed my cheek without actually touching me. His father gave me a stiff handshake and a nod. His sister smiled that smile, you know the one, where her lips move, but her eyes don't. His brother-in-law stood up to pull out my chair, which was kind, but it also felt like he was the only one trying. The waiter brought menus, water glasses, and recommendations for wine. His father immediately started talking about the vintage, like it was the most important thing in the world. His mother nodded along, making comments about how sophisticated the selection was. I sat there quietly, scanning the menu and trying to find something that didn't cost $40. It started small. It always does. His sister casually mentioned that she had just come back from their family vacation home in the Hamptons. She was talking to me, but she wasn't really talking to me. She was performing. She was showing off. She was reminding me that there was a whole world of experience and privilege that I wasn't part of. Then she asked, "So what do you usually do for vacations?" "Go somewhere local." I told her the truth. I said I love road trips, visiting small towns, exploring places that aren't in tour guides. I said it was meaningful to me, and I could see the moment she decided that was somehow less than. She smiled that smile again and said, "Oh, that's nice. I guess not everyone can afford to travel internationally." His mother jumped in then. She started asking about my job. Now I have a good job. I work in education, helping students figure out their futures. It's meaningful work. It's work that matters. But the way she asked about it made it sound like she was asking about a hobby. "So you work with children? That must be rewarding, I suppose." The word suppose hung in the air like she was being polite about something beneath her. His brother-in-law tried to change the subject, mentioning something about the food, but his father had already moved on to his next topic. He started talking about a business deal he was closing, a huge deal, worth millions. He was clearly trying to impress everyone at the table, including me. He described the complexity of the transaction, the intelligence required, the connections you needed to make something like that happen. And then he looked at me and said, "I don't expect you to understand the intricacies of something like this, but it's quite fascinating." I felt my husband's hand on my knee under the table. Was he warning me? Was he apologizing? I couldn't tell anymore. The waiter came to take our order, and for a few minutes there was silence, but it didn't last long. His sister started talking about her friend's engagement. Apparently, the guy proposed with a 10-carat diamond ring. It was absolutely stunning. She went on and on about how he had it custom made by a jeweler in New York. She was clearly trying to make a point, maybe about the quality of the man I had married, maybe about the fact that his proposal to me had been simple and sincere, not extravagant and expensive. I had loved his proposal. We were on a beach at sunset, and he just got down on one knee with his grandmother's ring. It was perfect because it was us. It was real. It was honest. But sitting at that table, I started to feel like maybe that wasn't good enough. Then came the moment I'll never forget. His mother leaned forward, and in that sweet, dangerous voice she uses when she's about to say something cruel, she said, "Your dress is very colorful. Is that a new brand you're trying?" I was wearing black. I was wearing a classic black dress. There was nothing colorful about it. But what she was really saying was that she didn't recognize the designer. What she was really saying was that it wasn't expensive enough. What she was really saying was that I didn't belong in that room. I looked down at my dress, the one I had saved for, the one that made me feel beautiful this morning, and suddenly it felt cheap. It felt wrong. It felt like a mistake. His younger brother tried to defend me. He said, "The dress looks great, actually. You look beautiful," but his voice was small against the weight of the rest of them. His father made a comment about how nice it was that I tried. His sister pulled out her phone and showed us a picture of a dress she had bought that week, casually mentioning it was from a boutique in Paris and cost more than my monthly salary. The food arrived, and we ate in this uncomfortable silence where they all pretended everything was normal. But it wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. I could feel myself shrinking. With every comment, every look, every subtle dig, I felt smaller and smaller. I was disappearing. His mother started asking me about my family then, and I could tell by her tone that she was asking out of obligation, not genuine interest. I told her about my parents. My mother is a nurse. My father is a retired teacher. They worked hard their whole lives. They put me through college. They taught me about integrity and kindness and what it means to do good in the world. But the way his mother listened, or rather didn't listen, made me feel like my family was somehow less than. She kept interrupting with comments about how practical their careers were, how it must have been difficult growing up without wealth. She wasn't asking questions to get to know me. She was gathering ammunition. She was building a case for why I wasn't good enough. His father started talking about schools then, which ones I went to, what I studied. He made comments about how impressive some schools were and how other ones were doing their best. My school wasn't an Ivy League. My school was a good school, a solid school, a school that gave me an amazing education. But in that room, it felt like I had gone to community college and failed out. I looked at my husband then. I really looked at him. I waited for him to say something. I waited for him to stand up for me. I waited for him to tell his family that what they were doing was wrong. But he just sat there, pushing his food around his plate, avoiding eye contact. He wasn't defending me. He wasn't defending us. He was letting them tear me apart, and he was doing nothing about it. The breaking point came when his sister made a comment about children. She was talking about how she and her husband were thinking about having kids soon, and they were already looking at private schools. She mentioned the tuition, which was astronomical. Then she looked at me and said, "I imagine public school would be fine for you and your kids. I mean, that's what most people do, right? It's not ideal, but it works for people in your situation. People in your situation." That phrase, those words, they landed like a punch. I had been quiet the whole dinner. I had been gracious. I had smiled when I didn't feel like smiling. I had listened to their comments and their judgments and their subtle insults. I had let them make me feel small. I had let them make me feel like I wasn't worthy of sitting at their table, let alone being married to their son. But something inside me broke in that moment. And I'm not talking about breaking down. I'm talking about breaking free. I put my fork down carefully. I took a breath. I looked around the table at all of them. And I felt something shift inside me. It was clarity. It was anger. It was strength. It was self-respect, finally waking up after being asleep for 5 years. I started speaking, and my voice was steady, calm, clear. "I need to say something," I said, "and I need all of you to listen, because I'm only going to say this once." His mother set down her wine glass. His father looked up from his plate. His sister actually stopped scrolling through her phone. My husband froze. "For 5 years, I have tried to fit into your world," I continued. "I've worn the right clothes. I've smiled the right smile. I've answered your questions with patience. I've listened to your stories about your vacations and your business deals and your designer dresses. And for 5 years, you have made it very clear that I am not good enough, that my background is not good enough, that my job is not good enough, that my family is not good enough, that I am not good enough." I could feel tears coming, but I wasn't going to let them fall. "Not yet. But I want you to know something," I said, looking directly at his mother. "I am proud of who I am. I am proud of where I come from. I am proud of my parents, who worked every single day to give me opportunities. I am proud of my job, where I actually make a difference in young people's lives. I am proud of my education. I am proud of my dress, which I bought with money I earned. And I am proud of the woman I am." I paused, and I looked at my husband, really looked at him. "What I'm not proud of," I said, my voice getting stronger, "is loving someone so much that I was willing to let his family treat me like I was nothing. What I'm not proud of is being so desperate for acceptance that I was willing to shrink myself to fit into a mold that was never meant for me. What I'm not proud of is letting anyone make me feel less than." His sister started to say something, but I held up my hand. "I'm not finished," I said. "See, you all have a lot of money. You have fancy degrees and important connections and beautiful things, and that's wonderful. I'm genuinely happy for you. But let me tell you something you clearly don't know. Money doesn't buy character. Money doesn't buy kindness. Money doesn't buy the ability to be a decent human being. And money certainly doesn't give you the right to make someone else feel small so you can feel big." I stood up then. I had to. I couldn't say what I needed to say sitting down. I married your son because I love him, not because of his money, not because of his name, not because of what his family represents. I married him because he was kind to me when we met, because he made me laugh, because he looked at me like I was enough, like I was everything. But tonight, I've realized something. If he's willing to sit at a table and let his family disrespect me without saying a word, then maybe I'm not everything. Maybe I'm not even enough for him. I looked at my husband, and I could see tears in his eyes now. And that breaks my heart, I said softly. But I'd rather have my heart broken than have my spirit broken. I'd rather lose you than lose myself. The room was completely silent. Nobody was eating. Nobody was drinking. Nobody was even breathing, it seemed like. His mother's face had gone pale. His father looked genuinely shocked. His sister had put her phone down. And his brother-in-law was looking at my husband like he was waiting to see what he would do. Then my husband did something I'll never forget. He stood up, and he looked at his family, and he said, "She's right. She's completely right. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I sat here and let you treat the woman I love like she was nothing. I'm ashamed that I didn't defend her. I'm ashamed that I was too scared of disappointing you to stand up for what's right." He turned to me, and there were tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry. You deserve better. You deserve someone who chooses you. Every single time. No matter what anyone else thinks." I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So I just stood there, looking at him, feeling all of it. His mother then did something unexpected. She stood up too, and she said, "He's right. I'm sorry, I've been cruel, I've been unkind, and I've been that way because I was afraid. I was afraid that if you were good enough for my son, then maybe I wasn't as important as I thought I was. But that's not your fault. That's my fear, and I put it on you, and that was wrong." I watched as she walked around the table toward me, and she pulled me into a hug. For the first time in 5 years, she held me like I was someone she actually cared about. His father was harder to read. He sat there, processing everything. Then he said quietly, "We should have been better. You deserved better from us." It wasn't a full apology, but it was honest. It was a start. His sister was crying now, real tears. She said, "I was jealous of you actually. I think I've been jealous since the beginning. You made my brother happy in a way I've never seen before. And instead of being happy for him, I was bitter. I was mean. And I'm sorry." We all sat back down. The dinner continued, but everything was different. The air felt different. The conversation felt different. They asked me about my job, and they actually listened. They asked about my family, and they wanted to know more. His mother asked about my dreams, and for the first time, I answered without filtering myself. By the end of the night, we were laughing. Actually laughing, genuinely laughing. His mother told a story about my husband as a kid that was hilarious. And when she laughed, I heard the real laugh for the first time. His father asked me questions about education policy because he actually seemed interested. His sister told me about a project she was working on, and she asked for my advice. When we left the restaurant that night, his mother hugged me goodbye. His father shook my hand and said, "Thank you for speaking up. We needed to hear it." His sister hugged me and whispered, "I'm going to do better." My husband and I drove home in silence, not the uncomfortable silence from before. This was a different kind of silence. This was the silence of two people who had just been through something real, something that mattered. When we got home, he pulled me close, and he said, "I love you." I should have said it that night. I should have said it years ago. But I love you. And I choose you. Every single day, I choose you. And I knew he meant it. Looking back on that night now, I realize it wasn't really about the dinner. It wasn't about his family or their money or their opinions. It was about me. It was about discovering that I had more strength inside me than I ever knew. It was about learning that my voice matters, that my worth isn't determined by how much money I make, or what school I went to, or what designer my clothes are from. It was about understanding that sometimes the people we love will disappoint us. And that doesn't mean we have to accept it. It means we have to speak up. We have to demand better. We have to choose ourselves, even when it's hard, even when it might cost us something. That night changed my marriage. It made it real, because my husband finally understood that loving me means defending me. And I finally understood that I'm worth defending. But more than that, it taught me something that I want to share with you. If you're watching this, and you've ever been in a situation where someone made you feel small, where you were criticized for who you are, or where you come from, or what you do, I want you to know something. You are enough. You are more than enough. Your worth is not determined by anyone else's opinion. Speak your truth. Use your voice. Don't let anyone dim your light so they can feel brighter. Life is too short to spend it shrinking yourself for people who don't deserve your presence. And if someone loves you the way you deserve to be loved, they will choose you every single time. They will defend you. They will stand beside you. They will make sure the world knows that you matter. If they won't, that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their character. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you didn't belong or that you weren't good enough, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Tell me your story. Let me know that you're not alone in this. Because you're not. We're all trying to find our place in this world, and sometimes we just need to know that someone else understands. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because there's someone in your life right now who's sitting at a table feeling small. Someone who needs permission to speak up. Someone who needs to know that their voice matters. And subscribe, because I'm going to keep telling these stories. Stories about real women finding their power. Stories about standing up for yourself. Stories about choosing yourself, even when it's hard. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share this moment with you. And remember, your worth is not negotiable. Never let anyone make you forget that.